folks, Jonathan here. Alright, we're at the Cadillac V-8 Flathead, 1941, 346 cubic inch. I think it's about 145 horsepower. I think, something like that. Might be a little less. Anyway, we have got to adapt this bell housing to fit the front of this transmission. Now this is a Borg T-5. This just happens to be one out of a 4-cylinder S10, and you can tell by the shifter, instead of being mounted back here where the Camaros are, it's mounted up here toward the center. I don't know what year it was, but at a certain point on the Camaros, they actually went to a Ford pattern on the bell housing, even in the Camaros. Now that was the tilted transmission, where the just like the one that I put in the 31 Roadster. So I want to stick with this style because that's what style I have in the car now, in the 31 5-window, and I want the shifter where it's at, and we're going to actually use the transmission that's in it. We're going to use this one to get some ideas off of here, and my input shaft's gone. That's okay, we can work without for now. And so the plan is, which is going to be the number one thing, I want to get a distance from the face of this all the way in to where the surface of the pilot bushing is, and then farther in to the back, you know, where the pilot bushing sinks into the crank. If that's where it goes, it may go in the flywheel. And then I also want to get a distance to where the clutch starts, and you know, that's going to give me some ideas of what I need to do, and then we will go from there on taking it apart. But before we take it apart, and we'll get all the measurements and we'll write them down. And I wish that I had the shaft for this, but we took it out and actually used it as a pilot shaft, and I'm not sure what happened to it. So we may hunt up another transmission, or try to go as far as we can go, or maybe I can probably get a measurement offline on it. But anyway, we'll figure that out. But the main thing is getting our measurements first, and then we'll write them down, and then we'll go from there on getting this off. So, okay, so I put me a little pointer here, just something to be able to measure off of. And I actually got me a brazen rod, and I'm going to look and make sure that I go all the way in the pilot bushing, all the way to the bottoming out in the crankshaft. So this one's bottomed out, so we'll put our thumb there and mark where it's at, and then we'll take a tape measure and we'll do the measurement on it, and we're at 8 and right at a half. So that's where we'll start. All right, next we're going to go in and we're going to test this side of the pilot bushing. There's the side of it. There's inside. Alright. We'll do the same thing. We've got 7 1/4. We're just going to go on this side of the clutch, where I see the splines at here. Measure that. We got 4 7/8. That's really all the measurements we need to get started with it. So now what we'll do is go ahead and take the bell housing off, and we've got to take the starter off, and we'll get that out of the way, and we'll go ahead and see what we're going to have to do to get that machined out. All you got to do is keep in mind that your center hole, if you keep your center hole aligned perfectly, and you've got this to align to on the front of the transmission, and you know, your bolt holes are, you know, they're important, but you know, they're not alignment important. If you keep all your center hole the right size, you can always align off that. So either way, we're going to open that center hole up to fit this. So I don't think it's going to take that much to do, and we'll set it up on the milling machine and bore that out, and with a boring bar, and eventually we'll get it where we need it. I don't know if there's an insert. I think there's probably an insert knocked in there, a steel one or something. So whatever that is, we'll check it out and get it out. But let's get the bell housing off and go from there. Okay, I figured while we was at it, I just as well to go ahead and pull this transmission out of this Camaro, and I just flipped it up on its side. Make it easy, and we'll go ahead and get it out. See, already it's got an aftermarket converter on it, so that's that much less money I make on a car like this when I pick one up wrecked. It's got brand new tires on it, brand new set of 16s that are in real good shape, but the you know, the converter would normally be worth, you know, possibly $100, but with this being an aftermarket, I don't think it's about 10 or 20 bucks, so it's not really worth cutting off. But well, I guess we're cutting off, but I mean, it's not a prize, let's put it that way. So we're gonna go ahead and get this unbolted and see if we can get it slid out of there. All right. Okay, folks, here's where we're at. We're doing a lot of measuring, a lot of figuring. I've got the bell housing off, clutch pressure plate. You have to remove the clutch pressure plate and the flywheel through the bottom before you can take the bell housing off. And the reason being is the bell housing has got wings inside there. Here is our size, another CAT scan. This is the size of our transmission. The hole's gonna have to be. So we're gonna go ahead and get this set up on the milling machine, and what we'll do is we'll get this dial indicated in the center, and then we'll actually start boring. And I thought maybe this was a steel insert in here, but it's all cast. It's all part of this bell housing. So we'll go ahead and start boring it, and just going to have to bore it out to that size, and just make sure it's right. And that way the transmission, when it's put on there, that way when the transmission when it's put on there, of course it'll be that way, this will be able to fit in there. So let's get at it. All right, we're set up. Dial indicated in. Got a boring head in. We're going to start boring. We're just going to slowly bring this out, and then I'm going to be over capacity size-wise with my boring head, but it's the biggest one I got. It's the only one I got. So when I get to a certain point, I'm going to have to really take just a little bit at a time off, but that's okay. It's just going to take a while, and that's the way it's going to be. So we're going to go ahead and get to cutting on this, and see if we can get her taken care of. Okay, here's where we are so far. I've got most of it going. That was kind of weird there where it tapered in, so we're going to keep machining on it. I've got to change my cutter to a different direction here, and we're just going to keep trying to bring it out until we get it where we need it. Okay, folks, very slow going, but we're getting there. I've got about an inch to go, and it's going to take a little while. But about when this stuff disappears is about when we're close anyway. So just keep at it. I'm just using a boring bar with an insert tool, square. It's supposed to be a round one, but it works good square. And I like that setup because it's easy adjustable in and out, and it's a little bit more sturdy than the boring bars with the, you know, the round ones that are cheap. So anyway, we're doing pretty good. We just got to keep it sharp and keep rolling with it. Very slow progress, a few thousandths at a time. You can see I got my cutter kicked out there pretty good, and this thing's not made to bore a hole that big, but that's okay. So anyway, when these disappear, we're just about on it. So we're not far away now. So should have her done here shortly. All right, we got it now. It's in there perfect. Alright, so that's going to keep us centered, so we don't have to worry about being off. So next, I'm going to get some sleep because it's late. And tomorrow we will try to get this thing cleaned up and go ahead and start maybe doing some fabricating on, or some drilling, tapping, whatever we got to do to get everything lined up right. Okay, folks, we got lucky. We had one hole that was just barely off. I just took a file and hit the edge of the hole, and the bolt went right in. So we're good there. Everything's fine. Right here, so I took a center punch and marked this hole, and I'm debating on whether to drill it and tap it or just go all the way through. I think I'll clean the back up a little bit and see what it feels like first. Might probably just drill it and tap it. There's plenty of meat there. You know, if it was thin or something like that, I would put a nut on it, but I don't think it's needed. So, and then, like I said, we got to figure this out. But as soon as I get this done, I got to get this thing cleaned up. I should have already cleaned it up, but I didn't have any gas with the pressure washer. I do now. So, I always need gas. But anyway, so that's where we're at, and let's see if we can get at it. Okay, so we've got this bolt, and I drilled it and tapped it, got it finished up. Transmission's good where it needs to be. So now we got to figure out what we're going to do here. Now, there's more than one way to do this, and I'm debating on which way to go. You know, we can put a piece in there and actually weld something in, or we can throw this back in the mill and square this stuff off a little bit to where we can actually drill and tap a heavy plate in here and bolt it. So, you know, we're going to look at both ways of doing it and figure out which way. You know, when it comes to adapting this stuff, there's always a lot of options. So, but I think the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get this thing back off, and you know, we could actually do the same thing down here, but we'll get it back off of here and see if we can just bellhousing cleaned up. Okay, what I was talking about is to actually set this back up in the mill and machine this square, and then be able to put like a block of steel in and bolt it in from this way. There's a lot of meat there. I mean, it's over a ½ inch thick, but that's one way to be able to do it, to extend this out without, you know, re-welding or brazing on it. So we'll figure out what we're going to do. We could do it here too, and just go through and bolt it twice, and then here we could CAT scan again, put a bolt in and actually cut it off and machine it smooth, put some Loctite on it so it can't move, and then we wouldn't have to worry about if we needed to drill through here to put a bolt in to hold it. So we'll figure it out how we're going to do it, but it don't take much. You know, we got 2 good ones in, so if we can get 2 more, we'll be fine. Okay, so we got another car here to get a transmission out of. This is a Fox body Mustang. That burnt, and as you can see, it burnt really well. Carbureted, melted about everything. Valve covers, they were aluminum. I don't know where it started at, but this wire right here was real suspicious. Running up through, who knows. But anyway, we're cutting the transmission out. I don't think the transmission's hurt. It didn't get the transmission mount, didn't burn the grease off of it. Got the shifter, but I think everything else is okay. So, fixing to hopefully have it out here in a minute. Alright, I think that's about all we can get off that thing. I'm not even going to attempt to mess with the engine or anything else. Let me see, I did get the Flowmaster mufflers off of it. Cut them off. They were in good shape. So maybe we'll use them in a build or something. Anyway, but yeah, that wire that was going to that amp was actually on the exhaust. They ran it right down beside the exhaust, and I don't know why. And I'm betting money that that's what started this whole fire. I wouldn't doubt it. Now, a lot of people might think that, you know, somebody poured something on this to light it. I've seen a lot of cars burn, and I'm talking about going down the highway and burning it in traffic. You know, people watched them and, you know, knew that they didn't start the car on fire. And a car, every part of a car will burn. The paint on it, everything. And, you know, people think that it takes pouring gas on a car to get it to look like this, but it's not a fact. Fact is, you know, they'll burn all the way, and if they hadn't put it out, the tires would probably burnt too. But you know, the good thing about it is heat rises, and that's one of the good reasons, or one of the reasons our transmission didn't get bad. I'll show you it a little closer up. Okay, here it is. And like I said, it did get a little bit hot on the shifter up here, but it's not hurt. And I think that might be an aftermarket shifter. I'm pretty sure it is. But it's just a regular Borg Warner. I'm assuming T-5's got the coarse spline, V-8 big spline. You know, it seems to be in good shape. I don't think there's going to be any issues with it. So, yeah, reverse. Melted stuff a little bit, but it didn't melt it bad, you know. So I just don't think it's going to be hurt. So that'll be another good one for, maybe we'll put this behind the Buick straight 8 engine. And probably a pretty easy one to do with having coarse spline and having you know, the simple bolt pattern there. That narrower bolt pattern instead of the Chevrolet where it's real wide. You know, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. You can see that, but we got pollen everywhere. So everybody's sinuses are going to be messing up and sneezing, and people are going to think everybody's got coronavirus. So anyway, show you where we're at here. Okay, I got the clutch fork in. That's the throw bearing that was on the Cadillac. Now, here's the pressure plate for the Cadillac, and here's a Chevrolet pressure plate. And they're both 10-inch clutch. I can either use, well, either one. And there's not that much difference in the distance with this diaphragm clutch from this when this is tightened down. So a little bit, probably work with it, but I can't use this pressure plate with this throw-up bearing because it's too small. But the Cadillac throw-up bearing is too big for the shaft on our T5, so what we'll have to do if we end up using that pressure plate is bush this, and I'll have to put a new bearing on it. But the difference between this bearing and this bearing, this one is offset. If you see something wrong with it, but this one actually presses off and you can replace just the bearing itself. So we'll have to replace it and then just use that one, or we could re-drill the flywheel and use this one with a new, you know, new bearing. So we'll decide which way we're going to go. I didn't check to see how that fork would work. Yeah, we can make it work. We can make the fork work with that bearing. But anyway, either way, it's going to be the next video. I'm going to go ahead and I've got another transmission coming, I hope. Another S10. And then we're going to go ahead and decide what we're going to do in here. And I'll do that in the next video. And then start trying to get all the measurements done. I'll show you how I do the measurements to get everything where it needs to be and everything to work right. And you know, it all worked out really well in the Roadster. So we'll see how it goes. All right, appreciate everybody watching. Till next time, bye.